everybody. Good afternoon, everybody who's joining us online, as well as all of you who are here today. Welcome to the Idea Center. I must say, my name is Alejandro Gonzalez. I'm new to the college and new to the Idea Center. I'm our new executive director. It feels great to be at MDC, and it feels great to finally have some people back in this space. So welcome, welcome back. And all of you joining us online, please come and check us out here at the Idea Center. We have missed you dearly. We really have. So all of our colleagues were saying how wonderful it is that we have bodies back in, especially our students. So the Idea Center, for those of you who do not know, is the college and the whole college, all of our campuses. This is our hub for entrepreneurship and innovation. And for all of the students who are here today, we're here for you. We're here to serve you. We're here to see you succeed. So if any of you have a business idea, if you have a side hustle that you want to kind of grow a little bit more, if you are working on something and you want to see how you can take it to the next level, that's what we're here for. We're here to help you take your business ideas to the next level. And we want to do that together with you. And that's for all of the students across all of our campuses for Miami-Dade College. If you're here from the community, if you're a small business owner, or if you're a professional in our community, we're here to partner with you and we're here to work with you, again, to grow your business. We have a program going on right now, Scale Up Miami, for community business owners to help them grow and take their business to the next level. So again, we're here to work with you. And as you know, today, in today's day and age, entrepreneurship and technology go hand in hand. It's very difficult to separate the two of them. And that's why we're honored that MDC's inaugural AI speaker series is being hosted right here at the Idea Center. It really is an honor and a privilege for us to be the host of the speaker series today and to kick things off. All of us here and all of us joining us virtually. And it's been a momentous day at the college. It really has been nonstop since the morning. We started this morning with a major announcement. Welcome, please, go ahead. We started this morning with a major announcement of philanthropic support, as well as from philanthropy, from business, and from local government to invest in MDC to further cement our role in this region as an engine of tech talent and innovation. Then we had a wonderful luncheon where Aaron Burciaga was our keynote speaker, and that's still going on, to talk about how MDC can continue to elevate and create a blue-collar AI workforce that works for our community and our country. And so it is an incredible time to be an MDC student. It is an incredible time to be a community partner for MDC, and I hope you guys are all very excited to be part of this college. Last week, we announced the creation of Tech Industry High School, which will be opening its doors right here in Wolfson campus this fall to make sure that we can harness future talent so that they can be tech leaders in the future. So, I mean, Miami-Dade College is on a roll, and I really hope that you are all part of that enthusiasm in one way or another. And in an effort to provide a better understanding of and connect the community with artificial intelligence, as part of all of these efforts, the college is launching this AI series. And we'll have different speakers come to the college over the next few months or so to talk about the importance of AI in society. And it coincided again with this multi-million-dollar investment that the college is receiving and making in AI education, $15 million for Miami-Dade College to continue this type of work. And a lot of this is definitely in large parts thanks to the leadership of our new president, Madeline Pumariega, as well as our VP of Innovation and Technology Partnerships, Antonio Delgado. So I hope that you have some time to meet with them later today. And we're very grateful that the Idea Center is a part of this conversation, that the Idea Center is a space where we can have this conversation, where we can talk about how AI and entrepreneurship come together. And we are incredibly grateful to be the host of our inaugural speaker series. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to another one of my rock star colleagues who's really taking a lot of this work and putting it and implementing on a day-to-day. I'd like to introduce Manny Perez, who is the Dean of our School of Engineering and Technology, NTech, and he will introduce our speaker, Ms. Silver, and lead us in a subsequent Q&A presentation. So Manny, take it away, and again, welcome everybody to the Idea Center.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to just lift this so they can hear me on the virtual world, right? So let's try that again. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I like that energy. That's that Miami energy. And so, as Alejandro mentioned, my name is Manny Perez, and I am the Dean of the School of Engineering, Technology, and Design. And it is my pleasure and honor to welcome you to our kickoff AI speaker series. And so we have an excellent speaker ready for you. And I'm just going to take a moment just to talk to you a little bit about what Alejandro was mentioning about our AI initiative and what does that mean and what we're trying to do within the School of Engineering and Technology. And so for our AI initiative, the college, as you heard, received several investments and has been working with industry to really launch an AI program and bring AI awareness to not only the community but our students. And so some of the initiatives that we've engaged in involve, and I'll go through some of the examples just so you're aware, but some of the initiatives that we engage in involve faculty and staff professional development. Our college president, as Alejandro mentioned, launched a presidential innovation fund around artificial intelligence to promote artificial intelligence among faculty and innovative learning. We've created two, and we're in the process of creating two AI centers for teaching and learning. And then the other thing we're doing is we're working on high schools with our high schools and creating programs and summer programs for them so that they can start to immerse themselves in AI. The goal of all of this is to make sure that we prepare the next workforce, right? That we work with local industries to identify the needs of our AI around that new workforce, around that blue-collar workforce that we were talking about in Aaron's presentation. And it's important that we take the time to do that. We have to understand the impact that AI has on the workforce and will have. And so we pride ourselves on working with the industry to create these programs and create these opportunities for you, our students, because we know that that's what you're going to need moving forward and entering the workforce. And so I do want to bring your attention. We did launch our MDC Tech Gateway earlier today, and if you'd like that address, it's www.mdc.edu/MDC Tech, and it really is a gateway for you, our students, and our community to really engage with us, with Miami-Dade College on all things technology. So whether you're looking for programming or any type of academic discipline or degree, you can go there to that site and get information about the different types of programs that we offer. You can also visit that site if you have children and you're interested in getting them involved at an early age in technology, and there's some opportunities around that there as well. And then if you're an industry partner joining us, there's opportunities for you there to really engage with us and partner with us on some good collaborative work around our technology programs. And so, and now I want to move on because I know we have a very time sensitive, and I don't want to get flagged by the person in the back telling me that I have no time left. But it's my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Ms. Noelle Silver. Ms. Silver is a multi-award winning technologist and entrepreneur who specializes in conversational AI and voice technology, or operational data science and cloud native app development in the hybrid cloud. She is AI and tech fluent, and she has led teams at NPR, Microsoft, and Amazon, and is a consistent champion for public understanding. Noelle has launched and established several initiatives supporting women and underrepresented communities within AI, and is the founder of AI Leadership Institute, where she's mentoring and coaching girls and young women to pursue a career in AI and emerging technologies. She's a partner executive in AI at IBM, and she is passionate about mindful leadership, authentic and personal branding, and the ethical and responsible use of technology. She was recently awarded the Microsoft Most Valuable Professional Award for Artificial Intelligence. So she's a Microsoft MVP, as well as VentureBeat's Women in AI Responsibility and Ethics Award. It is my honor to introduce to you Ms. Noelle Silver. Please, Ms. Silver, come to the podium.
All right. Hello. I'm so glad I got to meet some of you ahead of time. So if I stare at you, it's because I feel like we're friends. And I didn't get to you guys on this side of the room, so sorry about that. But we'll talk about it now. So I was lucky enough to get invited kind of at the last minute. So I'm super excited because I get to talk to you way earlier. I would have been in the series anyway. I was scheduled for later, but I get to talk to you now and be the first to introduce you to this world that I happened into. So I want to give you a little bit of context around me and my life and why I got to where I am, and then talk to you about the world that I work in today. And I think by the end of it, at least it's my hope, you will find as much opportunity, whether you are an entrepreneur or, as I have coined the term, an intrapreneur, regardless of which side you sit on, as an employee or as someone who will employ others. AI is changing the world, and we have actually an opportunity to change it for the better. So I, wrote Zero to AI Hero. Don't tweet that, right? You're not zero, like you're 100 already. But by the end of this, hopefully you'll know a little bit more about it. I am a walker, so I'm going to really try for our audience on the internets to keep track of what I'm saying. I'll try not to walk away from the stage. But this is me. This is my people. This is why I do what I do. Every time I take the stage, I take a second to be grateful for the people who make my life possible, which are my wonderful children. I have 4 of them. I also take care of my dad, who lives with me, and they are really the reason I got into artificial intelligence. My son in the pool there, gosh, we love South Florida. In the pool, I think that was in December. He is 16 years old, but he has Down syndrome. And 16 years ago, they literally said to me, you might want to, I don't know, put him in an institution or up for adoption. I mean, you're a young mom. They didn't know I was a technologist and a Latina. So that didn't happen, right? But I got really passionate about finding technology that would help make his life easier. I am now a caregiver to my dad, same thing, right? A lot of people, I could have put him, of course, in a nursing home, sure. He got hit by a car at ripe old age of like 70, and has now a cognitive, he's Dory. Do you know Finding Dory? He has no short-term memory. Super frustrating for me. But Alexa, do you know Alexa? Anyone? Alexa never gets frustrated with him. I'm like, just ask Alexa. Just ask, right? It is my caregiving dream now, but it inspired me. So let me tell you a little bit about my journey into artificial intelligence. My career started a long time ago, actually in a very similar time than we are right now. It was called Y2K. It was the first time we thought the world was going to end. And due to technology, we've now seen it a few times since then, but then they were taking, I think, anybody. They're like, if you have a passion and an interest in tech, come on over. We need people who are going to save the world from all the technical disaster that never happened. But that was the idea, right? Some of us in the room are not going to admit old enough to remember those things. So it was a good time. I got into the world. I will tell you now, I did not graduate from high school. I went, though, and I went for a long time. But in my senior year, my economics professor said, oh, honey, you're not going to graduate high school, and you probably should take up food service or retail. I remember it like it was yesterday, and I always want to go and tell him, like, but I don't, because I'm nice. I don't do that. But I think about it, which maybe makes it just as bad. But I started thinking about, like, back then, I have no college degree. It took me a decade as a professional, good technologist to admit that I didn't have a high school degree. And then I went to college, got excited about Y2K, and abandoned that too. So I have zero classical training in the work that I do today. but I'll tell you some fun stuff as we go through that makes it irrelevant, right? I am a huge fan now, right? If people are giving away PhDs, I will totally take one. I'm happy to take an honorary degree at any time. But I wish it went different for me. I'm now a mentor and advocate to women who get those teachers who say those things. Not this room, obviously, right? Nobody on the internet that's watching this right now. But there are people who just don't believe, who find it hard to believe in you and your ideas. I, thankfully, am of a generation of leaders, right, that don't believe that actually see opportunity. And we actually hire and invest on potential, not on past performance. And I am a product of that. So I now am a huge advocate of making sure that that's happening in our entrepreneurial communities as well. But this is what my last couple years ended up looking like. Pretty exciting times for the girl who should have been in food service, right? Which there's no shame in that. But if I want to do more, can't I? Yes. Yes, I can. I ended up getting a bunch of awards, and I'll tell you where this started. I was employee 10 on that little known product called Alexa. And here's how it happened. An email went around. I was at Amazon at the time. An email went around, and it said, who would like to join this project? It was on the heels of a failed project known as the Fire Phone. I don't know if any of you remember it. It was an awesome phone, but it didn't make it. It died. No one wanted to join the little black box that we'd talked to in our kitchen. No one. So I was like, oh, I'll do it. That sounds fun. And my manager at the time was like, no, you are not technical enough to do this work. You cannot, that's not for you. And of course, I said, thank you for telling me. And like my economics professor, I skipped him and went around. And I went to the hiring manager and said, I want to do this. This looks awesome. Can I help you? And he said, yes. Because the good news is even though you'll run into people who will say no, there's way more people, if you keep looking, that will say yes. And so they said yes. And I got to join that team when it was Jeff Bezos's pet project, not his current to the moon pet project, or Mars, I can't remember. But it was his pet project at the time. And his only goal was to make the 1% of the 1% a little happier in their kitchen. That was his goal, right? And it was a little bit sad now because this is where my AI and ethics award came in. I became a huge advocate of, wait, shouldn't we have thought about the classroom and the nursing home and all the places that I've been a part of bringing Alexa to? But in those first 2 years, we were heads down, just making it a cool kitchen device. And so now I spend my days on stages, in classrooms, on podcasts, talking about if you are, especially in the Idea Center, I am super excited that I know you people now. They are my friends. If you are in a place like the Idea Center, right, when you build artificial intelligence that I'm about to talk to you about, you can set an intention way bigger than the thing that you're thinking about building today, right? Alexa, when we started, we never thought, I think I had 1,000 beta testers when I started. I had over 60 million users when I left. I launched 4 natural language models in machine learning, 4 separate ones. That's another story. But we launched 4 of them, and we built a model bigger and productized than had ever been seen before. And it was done most people who didn't think they would do that with their lives. And that's kind of the danger, right? Is because we didn't set a different intention, we ended up not making certain choices. Do you know, for example, that there is a group of people called the Alexa Humans, or Alexa Human Project, and there are people who have been disenfranchised because a device is in 100 million homes and called their name, that they've had to change their name, that their life got worse, that their kids got bullied because they named their kid Alexa 6 years ago. It's really sad, but it's things that we as entrepreneurs, we could think about that. So now I'm a big fan of what we call design justice, where we don't just ask, ooh, who's the cool 1% that we're going to solve with this product, but who could we hurt and who could we help, right? It's bigger. So I always start with this quote, and the reason I mention it is because Jeff Bezos himself had it hanging on his fridge during the time of Alexa, and he shared it with us. He said he also shared it with his children. And I'm going to read it, though you're not supposed to read quotes on stage, especially long ones, but it's worth it. I hope. What is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate the beauty to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, check, 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 a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived, this is to have succeeded. This coming from the person, right, the Jeff Bezos that we might know from social media to maybe not be empathetic or caring, right? $1 billion person making $1 billion companies. But this was what he told us when we were building a project like Alexa. He was like, you decide what makes you successful. And this is not a terrible place to start. And it was inspiring. Turned out the CEO at IBM also said the same thing, shared the same quote. My CEO at Red Hat, at VMware, and at Pivotal Cloud Foundry, all companies I worked at, they all shared this at one point. So I started saying it. But here's a funny thing about data. I thought Ralph Waldo Emerson said it, because if you Google it, that's what it says. Shocker, a woman wrote it, right? And she didn't get any play, but she does now, because I always mention her, but that's how easy it is, right? To just miss one data point that kind of changes the story. And AI is very much about this. So we have more power than ever at our fingertips. Applied AI is literally going to change all of your lives. At least I hope so. And what that means is that today, each one of you, right now, if you got a good idea, could go and leverage AI without touching a line of code. It's called AI's low code, no code world. And there are entire platforms dedicated to this. So you have more power than ever. But let's see if any of you are my true fam in here, right? With great power comes, yes, phew, we are friends. Okay, good. Yes, with great power comes great responsibility. So as you learn the things I'm about to show you and the tools you can go out and use, remember that it's only you who will ask those questions. It was only me. I mean, I was the only brown person, let alone curly-haired girl in these rooms. And it was only me who could say, have we thought about what that'll do for kids who can't speak clearly? Have we thought about how that's gonna help a 68-year-old man or 82-year-old man who's struggling because he's all alone in a nursing home? Like, it's our job, because we have our own lives, and that's what's gonna change artificial intelligence, is that our ideas, our world is going to create products and services that serve more people. So applied AI, we're going to use it to change the world we see. What applied AI means is that today you can leverage artificial intelligence without actually writing it. And this is what Aaron was talking about earlier today, which is, sure, if you want to be the one who writes a model for the first time ever, there's lots of research organizations doing this work. And it's kind of fun. I'm not that person. I don't enjoy that. But it is possible. However, 90% of the work I do today is building on top of the shoulders of giants. Going into organizations like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, realizing that they invest $2.5 billion in R&D every year, and I take their models and I apply them to the world. And I'll give you a couple examples as we go through. One thing that I have come to believe in this world, this new generation of AI leadership that you are now a part of, is that we believe in inclusive engineering. And what that means is that you don't necessarily need to make sure every color, gender, orientation is sitting at the table, but you need to have empathy for them. You need to ask the questions on their behalf, because if you don't ask them, no one will. And could you get fired for asking? Yes, but that's okay. Like, one thing I realized is that there is no perceived blacklist. I used to think that as a brown girl in tech. I used to think if I said something and got fired, I would never get hired again. It turns out companies actually want people like me. They want the people who will pull the chain on the train. Who knew? Decades of my life lost, hiding because I was afraid of what would happen. But now, luckily, we have millennials and Gen Z who are like, oh no, we're not gonna let that happen. We're gonna ask the questions, thank goodness. But like, I'll tell you, I was a vice president of engineering, head of engineering at National Public Radio. You might know them, NPR. And I was sitting at a table with this woman, Nina Totenberg. Some of us older people know her. I mean, I was like starstruck. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Nina. She was like one of the first correspondents on the Hill, first women, I should say, first female correspondent on the Hill, got all the nonsense, like all nonsense of being a first woman in that space. And what she told me touched me, and I live it. She's like, we're part of the suck it up generation. And I'm part of this generation where I just work harder. If you say I can't, I do double. If you say I need 1 certification, I get 5, right? Like, because I have to suck it up and just be better than you by a lot. But you don't necessarily have to do that. The good news is that you can just say something, right? Rather than sitting quietly, you could just say something. And a lot of what we're about to talk about is going to give you some tools to make big noise. And artificial intelligence can help amplify what you want to do in the world. We also are a community of multimodal builders, right? And what this means is that when you build something, no matter what it is, if you're building a company, if you're building software, if you're building hardware, if you're building a desk, you're going to think about every way someone might use that thing. It's your job, because if you don't think about it, no one will think about it, right? And as the leader of that conversation, you are critical. It's part of the inclusive engineering mindset, right? So multimodal builders, give you an example, right? When I built Alexa, was on that team. I didn't mention, so I did build over 100 applications for Alexa. Today, if you go to Alexa and say, like sometimes there's devices that go off right now. So sorry, you should mute your devices if you're at home. But if you say, Alexa, open mindfulness, that's mine. I wrote that, and I have over 1 million unique users of my skills. Mindfulness, daily kindness, Christmas kindness, couples kindness, corporate kindness, right? You get the idea. But I built these skills, and you know what they told me when I first started building them? No one wants mindfulness on a kitchen device. You're right, probably, but I did it anyway because it was a Noelle thing to do. And the good news is, of course, my users showed up. And that's what happens when you're in alignment with what the world needs, no matter what people around you are saying. So, but when I built it, I didn't just build it for voice. I was like, well, I want to be able to have a screen show up and show you the affirmation. Or I want to be able to show like the cool YouTube-y water imagery when you do a meditation. And the product couldn't do it then. But that's how I was thinking. I was thinking always in, what if I can't just talk? What if I have cerebral palsy and my speech is, slurred or agitated, and I can't do the things that your device requires me to do? What other options do I have? And when you build this way, you serve more people. You serve the world. Of course, I believe in responsible AI. I've been kind of planting the seed, right, all day, all throughout my session. But really, responsibility simply means we're going to be accountable. So I can't go in and say to a person who has the name Alexa, who's really upset about this, and say, oh, it wasn't my job. I was on a team of 2,000 people. Like, what do you want me to do, right? I took it personally. I mention them when I talk. I take responsibility, not for the whole thing, obviously, but for what I could have done. And then I make a plan. And what my plan was is to talk about it and say, hey, let's ask better questions next time. You never know if your 100 or if your 1,000 beta user product will, if it's AI, be 100 million people. You never know that. The other thing is, oh gosh, how do I always say this? You're one acquisition away from the Death Star, right? So if you're building a startup, you don't know how they're going to use the data you're acquiring. And luckily, Alexa was in a good place and is owned by Amazon, whatever your ideas are around that. But there are lots of startups that build great ideas to serve people. They get acquired by a company and it stops serving the people it was intended for. You own that, right? That's what we get to be accountable for when we say we're going to be responsible with the AI that we build and use. And of course, I believe in learning by doing. This is where the fun part is. So normally I had asked yesterday when they were like, can you come do this thing? I'm like, great, do I get to do a demo? Because that's where I live. I live in the actual using of these models. It's how you learn. It's how I learned. So you want to know how I got my first coding job without a degree? I went to Barnes & Noble. Do you know what that is? Like, it's a bookstore. I'm just kidding, right? But I went to Barnes & Noble, and back then, the computer science section was huge, the Y2K, huge. And I went through every book and did every exercise. They didn't have GitHub or any of these things where you can save your code. I just did every exercise to the tune of hundreds of hours. So I learned by doing, and it got me my job. It got me every promotion I've got. It helped me build 100 skills for Alexa when no one else had done that. Again, my friends were building one skill. I built 100. It's sad. That's what brown girls got to do these days, to get some rep. Learning by doing is a huge part. So I talked about, AI, hero, the future of work. This is where I spend my day. I am an executive today. I'll tell you the day I became an executive at IBM. Woo! I don't drink, but if I did, the champagne would have been flowing. But it was like I did what I was told was impossible. You will never be an executive at a big tech company without, I remember some older woman, she was like in her 70s, she was like, honey, you won't always be the cutest girl in the room. You better get that degree. She told me that. And I, of course, was like, I should get my degree. But I didn't. Instead, I learned because AI is a learned skill. Obviously, I wish I would have. And now I'm still like, maybe I can get the MDC degree that comes out in a few months. Or maybe they'll give it to me if I teach some stuff. But this is where I spend my days. As an IBM executive, I am helping the world's biggest companies, Fortune 100 companies, figure AI out. And I had the CEO of a very large insurance company literally pull me aside after I spoke to his board, and he was like, just tell us what to do. And I was like, oh, we are in trouble, right? If you're asking me. But we have a huge opportunity because they need younger voices. They need people who think beyond, buy this box and get this outcome, right? Like we are in a solution evolution. We are building solutions that touch more than just one company. It's why in the introduction, thank you, you said hybrid cloud. No longer are we in these like, I'm a Microsoft shop or I belong to this company. Every company touches a bunch of other companies. It's an ecosystem world, which is great if you like people and you like to connect, right? I hope you do, because that's the world we're in. AI is less about the tech and more about the relationships. It's more about the human than the artificial today. All my success has come from there. So let's just take a look at a couple of these that are kind of interesting. You'll recognize them, right? Customer intelligence. This is what it looks like when you go to Amazon or Netflix and it says, other people like you have watched this thing, or even you probably like this because you like these other things, right? It's the use of these artificial intelligence models and predictive maintenance. You know, there used to be in India, we just fixed this. There was a human in India with a clipboard who would walk through the train yard, taking numbers off trains to count them as present in the train yard. That was a human, one very sad human. So when I came and said, guess what? I'm going to give you a chair and a monitor, and we're going to let a computer device, a camera, take pictures of these things, and it's going to detect anomalies, train numbers that shouldn't be there, and your job is just to make sure bad things don't happen, right? Let the humans discern the things humans are good for, right? I'll tell you, he was not afraid that I was going to take his job. He was not worried that all of a sudden AI was going to take, he cried tears of joy that I was there. And this happens all over the place. There's another one, retail intelligence is huge, but business process automation. I go into finance organizations and say, wouldn't it be cool if I answered all of your email that you don't want to answer, the one that you get, that same email that you get 400 times a day? Wouldn't it be cool if I could automatically answer that for you and you could only focus on the hard stuff? They were all very excited to see me, right? So it is in all of these areas. And I should give you some history. So I spoke to 383 of the Fortune 500 companies and said, what's wrong with you? What's hurting you, right? Who hurt you? Why are you sad? And these were the areas that they said they had trouble or challenges. And that is the easiest place to start with the AI. Because the bar is super low. They're already unhappy. The customers aren't getting served. The business is already losing money. And you can go in and amplify what you'd normally do by hand. You can amplify it with technology. So these are the areas today that I spend most of my time. Conversational AI, obviously, I'm an Alexa person. I like talking to computers. I grew up on the golden age of science fiction, Asimov, iRobot. Yes, those stories did not end well. I'm trying to change that pattern. But conversational AI is huge. I remember I did 67 hackathons over a couple years, and I added conversation. I went in, my job was to just introduce to all the hackers, conversational AI might be cool, you should try it. And it's a simple web call. Everyone who implemented it made it into the top 10, and every single winner of the hackathons I was at had conversational AI in their winning project. Every single one. Why? Because it's cool to talk to your computers or robots or whatever. Pillboxes, televisions, like it doesn't matter. If I could talk to it instead of get on my phone, pull up an app, that's the way to go. And my dad can attest to it. We have over 133 voice-enabled devices in our house. It is too much, I know, but it's my life. I enjoy it. The second use case is knowledge mining. So knowledge mining is, all right, how many of you have a laptop? Okay, how many of you know if I asked you for a single file, you could easily locate that file on your laptop? Right, that's about right, like 20%. Companies are the same way, except their percentage is 2%. 2% of companies can find anything in their data center at the drop of a hat. Like if I came in as an auditor and was like, do you know audits, how long they typically take? Months. And you know why they take that long? Because they can't find anything. It takes them forever just to find stuff. And so knowledge mining is the art and science of using artificial intelligence to index everything on your laptop or in your data center or in your company and make it accessible. In my case, I like to make it accessible via voice. Show me that presentation. I can't remember what I called it, but it was something about AI Hero. And it would use what we call OCR, right? And it would detect in every presentation that I said AI Hero, it would pop it up into a short list. I have 6,000 presentations on my machine right now. If you asked me for the one I did 4 years ago, I couldn't find it unless I use the AI that now runs on that machine. So knowledge mining is huge because it lets us, again, amplify the ingenuity of the person who has that data. It gives you the ability to find stuff that you already took the time to save. It's really incredible what it'll do for an organization. Process automation is like it's the least exciting, but drives the most revenue in a company. So imagine, oh my gosh, this is a good story. So I found out that there's a guy what was he doing? He was sending POs, purchase orders. Do you know like a purchase order, to Google, Facebook, and Amazon. He was sending them in the tune of 25 to 30,000, never the same amount twice. He was able to get POs paid by these organizations to the tune of $50 million before he was caught. He was not a registered vendor, delivered no services. He just randomly sent POs to their PO department. Don't do this. It's not a good business model. Not an idea for the Idea Center. But the only reason that happened was because there's a poor person, a human, reading those POs and was like, it's fine. It's fine. Oh, 25,000, fine. They're dealing with $1 billion, $100 million, $100,000 POs, 25,000, whatever, it's fine. Over the course of 5 years, he did get caught, and he is now, I think, in blue-collar jail, whatever that means, like on a yacht in Tahiti or something. But he did get caught. But wow, that's crazy. And these are the tech companies. Like, this is who we look to be like, you figured this out, right? So I do a lot of process automation in the area of fraud and financial crimes, because it's easy, because we have humans doing all of that work now. And I don't know if you know this, but when you get a job, they ask you to do more than you're capable of doing in an 8-hour day. And then they keep adding more. And then someone leaves and they don't hire that person back. They don't backfill. So before you're like just trying to keep up, trying to keep your head up. And that's a human. And that's where AI can help. So that human is now much happier because they're like, oh, great. Now, when I get a PO, I know it's been validated against our vendor registry. It's been the PO number's been validated against an existing document in our system. Some validation has happened prior to. But it's crazy, crazy what's happening. I hope I didn't just plant a seed for bad business, right? But crazy times. So So here, this is more for your reference. We're going to share this deck with you so you can go back and look at it. I also, for those of you who are social media people, if you find me, connect with me on social. If you take a picture, I will give you like a cake. But if you find me on social media and connect with me and say you were here, I have a list of links and demos, true for you all online too, links and demos of all of the cool stuff that I would typically demo in a session like this. If you're serious, I mean, it's a significant list of resources, but it's super, for me, I love it. It's super fun. We have a healthcare bot and what we did for the finance organization in the government, what we've done for the Department of Defense, all things that are shareable and not, I won't have to do anything if you get it. But these are some of the technologies that are at your fingertips. For the entrepreneurs in the room, this is your field day. This is applied AI. These are web-based applications, which means if you're building a mobile app or a website, you would be silly not to consider this. One of the most common implementations today is around, let me make sure I'm doing okay, is around language. What happens if you could, let's say you're a retail site, and you could actually communicate in the language of your customer. In Miami, that could be useful, right? But I don't know what that language is until they talk to me. So they go into a chatbot and they start speaking in Spanish, and I use a little known AI model called language detection, and I detect what language they're using. And then, because I also have an AI model for 70 languages, I can instantly switch to the language, even the dialect that they use. Customers buy more when you talk their language, right? Customers are happier. They come back, they tell their friends. So a lot of these around, I have a book that I wrote called Frictionless. It's all about using AI to reduce friction. It's all about how do we make the world of our customers, my son, my dad, me, the 1% of the 1%, how do we make everyone's lives have less friction in it? And it turns out people are happier. And when people are happier, they buy more stuff. So for a capitalist society, which we are in, that's helpful, right? So good news, you can make people happy and then they'll buy things from you. So that's kind of nice. Let's see, what other thing did I want to mention here? Oh yeah, so conversational AI, I'm going to leave you with this. My biggest concern with conversational AI, when I started talking about building Alexa skills, I taught a bunch of people how to do it. Here was the biggest thing that happened. I said, you could build something as simple as a fact application, which would be like banana facts, cat facts, dog facts. It turned out that year, over 100,000 people submitted fact applications. And we never evolved past that. It is literally the disaster that was like our Alexa skills platform. We can do anything, mind you. The tech can do anything. Like on Alexa, you can launch a web browser. On Alexa, you can connect into like a financial system and pull up financial records. I could say, hey, show me this sales deck. And oh, on page 4, can you zoom into this information in our Salesforce application? We could do all of that with Alexa. But I taught the world how to do fact skills. So the world will do what you tell them. So tell them to do something big with what you're thinking about, right? So conversational AI, you can see here, I call it one bot to rule them all. The future of voice applications is building all of the knowledge in the back end and creating channels for conversation. Instead of like Alexa's, everything's on Alexa. I'll give you an example. NASA, JPL, NASA came to us and said, we want to build a rover that we take to schools and have that rover, right? So you could talk to, you'd be like, hey, Rovi, show me a picture of Mars. And it would show you a picture of Mars. Super cute. Except Alexa, at the time, was like, oh, but you're going to have to call it Alexa. Needless to say, JPL was like, but it's a rover. Like, we're not going to call it Alexa, it's rover. So they then went to Microsoft and said, can you help us build the exact same thing, but let us call it whatever we want? And Microsoft was like, sure, because we'll take that market share, right? So they built that same application. And now, guess what? Rover exists on Alexa. You can ask Alexa. You can also ask Google. You can ask it on Slack and in WhatsApp, and you can ask the device. And it's all the same functionality. The other benefit of it is that I can start my conversation on one device, and this is the future. My devices do this, right? I'll start my conversation in the kitchen. I will continue it on a different device in my car. I'm going from Alexa to CarPlay. And then I get to work and I talk to Cortana. I know. Anyway, I talk to Cortana, for some of us who remember that technology. It's still out there. And then the nice thing is they all are talking to this same knowledge base. So they all remember me. I don't have to repeat myself. It's a beautiful thing. It's frictionless. And that's the future we want to offer, the world. So I am going to, can you guys just, can you take me to the last slide? So what we want to do is, what we want to do is talk a little bit about, questions that you might have based on what I talked about. We talked about a bunch of things. Oopsie, sorry, that might be my bag. So if you have any questions, now's our chance to kind of talk about questions. But the last thing I want to leave you with as you're like brainstorming, I have all these questions to ask, is that I work for a company that embraces what's called open source. Anyone familiar with this concept, open source technology? A few of you. So what this means is that the world's biggest and brightest technology companies, IBM, bought Red Hat. Red Hat's an open source company. The big Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, even Facebook, and they're like the devil. But even Facebook, right? Like they believe in open source and they believe in responsible AI. And I know you should look it up. But open source means we're willing to give our code to the world for free and let you as an entrepreneur or as a business owner use it however you want. The only handshake wink we make with you is whatever you build, give it back to the community. It's beautiful. Enterprise software built on open source is the best software on the planet because we all worked to make it good. And we all got, so this is possible, right? Some of us think of corporate America and we're like, ew, like stuffy. Like open source is corporate America today. The world has changed. And sometimes we forget that, but open source is a huge part of the world. And what I encourage you to do, of course, I'm a big voice enable person. Anything you're doing, of course, consider enabling it with voice. But most importantly, enable your own voice. Become an advocate. Start talking about the things that you're working on, even if it's just a little AI. Even just your idea. The fact that brown people say things out loud, there's not enough of us on stages today. I'd encourage all of you to consider what could I take to the world stage? Because we need role models. We need people who, and not fancy ones. I'm wearing heels, but I am a hoodie jeans person. You should have seen me this morning like, what do I wear? My whole closet's hoodies. And I was like, we need more people who are willing to just stand up and say, I do this thing and I support you. And so I do this thing and I support you. Thank you.
Big round of applause. Please, please, please. Any questions?
Hi.
Ask your question. I'm just going to take a selfie of us all. Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and inspiring all of us. Absolutely loved hearing you talk. But one of the things I wanted to ask about was I have two of my students from my classes sitting here, and I asked them to come earlier today, so yay, guys. But what advice do you have for them, right? So I love the fact that you said you just took charge even without a high school degree, right? And they're college students. What can they do today to get plugged in?
Yeah, so I'll say two things. One, GitHub. Are you familiar with it? Anyway, GitHub is awesome. It's an open source project environment. There are two types of people in the technology world. There are what we call the technology, I think it's like coders, or I don't know, they're not me. But there's like the engineering people, and then there's the communication people. And you can't do tech without both. It's almost like in a startup, you have a CEO and a CTO, and you need them both. And this is true in almost everything that you do. But GitHub is one. And then the other thing I would encourage you to do is learn by doing. So get into hackathons. There's a website called DevPost that does virtual hackathons. Also, Kaggle is a big, C-A-G-G-L-E, big data science specific hackathon. They just did a hackathon on how to detect deep fakes, which was kind of fun. But here's the good news. You don't have to know how to do this by yourself. You could just raise your hand and say, here's my skill set, and they will take you. And if you know how to communicate, it's one of the least skill sets that they have. So oftentimes they're like, oh my gosh, someone to write the documentation, someone to build the presentation, to write the pitch. Like that's real skills if you're not a technologist. And of course, if you are a technologist, you can do whatever. But yeah, those are the two sites I would encourage. Great. Thank you. Great question. And follow me on the Insta. Hi.
Hi. We spoke before. My
Yes.
name's Mark A. Hoffman. I'm an attorney and also a graduate, I guess, of the Startup Challenge here at the Idea Center.
Awesome.
And so one of the things that I'm interested in is actually making artificial intelligence more empathic. And, you know, I love really listening to you because you talked about, you know, basically the power of intention and, you know, your vibes with how you approach the world and how you want to help making it more for other people than for yourself. And, you know, in line with that, I've just, those kind of spiritual studies, I've realized that, you know, with artificial intelligence, if you equip it the right way, you could possibly, you know, basically sense other people's emotions and their feelings. And I think that would just in itself, whoever you would market to, would be like super helpful with really everybody. So that's something that I'm working on. And if anybody else is interested in that idea, I'd love to maybe talk to you and maybe we could work together. Anyways, but I'm just curious, you know, you're talking about your APIs and everything. With that, how do you think that could work with maybe making AI more empathic? Is there something specific that you would recommend that maybe I can look at or, yeah.
Yeah, so one thing you should know is I took a totally different route. I went applied AI, which is there's so much opportunity in applied AI, meaning that you're not building models from scratch. You, on the other hand, would be aligning with people that would be doing something that the world has never seen before, which is very exciting, right? And eventually I would leverage, so when you build that, the first thing I'd ask you to do is wrap it in an API, right? So a web developer like myself can implement it into my web apps or my mobile apps or whatever. So there's an entire, I mean, retail would love this solution, right? Getting into retail technology, there's like ad tech, that would be very interested. And there's lots of, the good news is researchers are everywhere. There's a researcher, their job literally is to get a cool idea and then fund it so they could play with that idea forever. And the reason I know that is because I took 17 of these projects from Microsoft and productized them. And they were very uncomfortable with what I asked them to do as a product, right? Because I now implement deadlines and checklists. And they're like, whoa, crazy. No, we're not doing that. And I was like, well, if you want 100 million users, you have to do these things. But like get into the retail space, at least that's where you could start because they would be the most financially incented by your outcome, and then it'd be your job to drive them towards using it for good. But I do think it could drive happiness, right? Like that, it's almost like creating technology that's more aware, emotionally intelligent. I mean, really, we need humans that are even more emotionally intelligent. So, but that's awesome. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Because I think there's a big fear for lots of people that, like, I don't want to do this because it's less human. It's actually the opposite of what you do.
Right. I think it's probably the biggest like myth that I try to debunk as I go places is that people think AI will in some way do the thing by itself. And I will tell you as being an initial developer on Alexa, and I'll give you a really fun story. My dad, it's not fun, I guess. He was in the ICU after his car accident and Alexa had just been created and he's on his back with a seat collar. 6 months he was there. And I brought in a beta Alexa device. It wasn't pretty, but I brought in a beta Alexa device and I'm like, Dad, you can talk to this thing. And he's like, that's cool. You know, he doesn't know what it could do. And I said, no, you could ask it anything. And he's like, yeah. And he yells out the call sign for a radio station he listened to in high school. And it started playing classical music. And he got tears in his eyes. And I almost get tears in my eyes myself. But I wrote that. It wasn't magic. It wasn't AI didn't just come in a magic fluffy glitter ball, explode it. I wrote, I know his like this is benefit of data collection, but I know my dad's favorite color. I know his birthday. I know what he would ask. I created that experience. And actually there's a science fiction author. He says that technology and specifically artificial intelligence, when you look at it, it's not really any different than magic. And the reason that's true is because me, the technologist, I get to create that magic for my dad. He was like, oh my God, this is like amazing. I could ask it this. I could pull up my favorite book, all these things that I had connected for him. So I, as the technologist, become the magic maker. But I think that in and of itself is part of the challenge is people think AI is somehow autonomous. Even when we call autonomous driving, it's not. Like I was on a project recently, especially if I use Miami as my example. I'm like, unless you trained on Miami traffic, you don't have nothing, right? Like, unless you've been in downtown Miami on a Sunday where there's a Super Bowl. But it's very specific. Like someone like me who's from Miami has to be there to say, hey, there is nothing autonomous about this. You have to go and talk to my friends so that you can get the right data to train these models. And that's the world we're in right now, is that no one knows, like every use case for AI is very specific. Like there is no generalized artificial intelligence. It has to be very specific because it's the only way to actually build a model that understands the solution for my dad. I was his generalized intelligence. But if I wasn't, I would have to make sure that, like, I got that. And my job now is to make sure that those data sets are inclusive and that include not just the people that those data scientists were like, oh, well, my friend has this problem, so I'm going to go talk to my friend, use that data to build a model. That's how it all starts. And that is extremely biased if we don't do anything about it. Like that, and it starts good, right? Because it solved, like even my model, it solved my dad's problem. But if I didn't go past that, it would never have called any other call sign, right? So I think that's a huge part of our challenge is to bring the human closer to the tech, because the tech can't do it by itself. Even though I used to have a shirt. This shirt used to terrify people in the airport. People would stop me and be like, you know, that's going to kill us all. I'm like, well, and then I got a button that was like Skynet with a line through it. There's lots of good stuff. But maybe were there any other questions? Yes. Okay, no, because the people would like to hear you on the internet.
This is my first time like being at this type of like, I guess, event. I'm sure that like your father and like your son are like, I guess, motivation for you. But like, what kind of like when you started, like what taught you or like what helped you like decide like this is something that I could do, like I could do this, you know, like what?
Yeah, so the reality is you can do anything. And lucky for me, I was raised into a family that like when I was 6, we were meditating and learning the power of affirmations. Like when I was a little, like that's why all my skills are kindness and affirmations, because I was taught that they don't get to decide, right? The others. And that was literally the only reason. I mean, if I wasn't successful in AI, I would have been successful in something else. Like, because I had to learn to choose my success. And nothing is unlearnable. Like, thank goodness for school. Like, nothing's unlearnable. I could take a class. I learned Python. I'd never coded before. I built 100 skills in Node.js when I started. I'd never written in that language before. It's just a matter of mental discipline. It's why I do hot yoga. On Sunday, I'm running the Disney Princess Half Marathon. Not in these shoes, but still hard for me. I'm not a runner. I forever said I'm not a runner. And you know what I said to myself? Well, I'm going to go run then, because that can't be a mentality I have. So it's not about the thing, really. Anything you decide, you could do that thing. And then it's a matter of finding resources, finding people who will support you, and finding the education. And that's it. Like, everything I've done, I learned. And I didn't take no for an answer. But most of that's mental discipline. It's less about, right, the technology. But great question. All right. So, yes. Oh, great.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
So this aligns with what with the last question. Your why. How do you maintain your why in a world of capitalism, in a world of everyone is out for themselves? How do you do that?
Yeah, so if you noticed, I started my slide with my children, and no one in tech does this. No one. Like, people start with their product, they start with their pitch, they start with the what. And I am one of the few people who will take a stage in front of 5,000 people and be like, here's my kids. And that, I start with my why, even when the room is like, it's not about your why. I will start meetings this way. I will often start with my skill is 60 seconds of mindfulness. And I will start a meeting that has an Alexa device in it, which many of them do in Seattle. And I will say, we're going to take 60 seconds of mindfulness. And I will prep it with 60 seconds is not a long time. Just think about why you're here. That's it. Just think about why you're here. And most people, especially younger people, are like, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have to be here, right? But it's that repetitiveness of, why are you here? Why are you doing this? I revisit my why every single day. I write it down every day in the morning and every day at night. And I have like 6 whys, by the way. I have personal, professional, financial, like all of these things are driving me every single day. So you kind of have to, it's kind of work, right? And I wasn't that way in my 20s. I wasn't that way in my 30s. All I knew was I wasn't going to fail. And I think as a brown person, for those of you who are brown like me, or a black person, it's even harder because we have to be, and I will say this with a bit of sadness, we have to be twice as good to be seen as just the same. And it's the truth, and it hasn't changed in 20 years. And so you're walking into a world where it's like that woman who got on stage at the press conference. Do you know how many certifications she rattled off? Do you know how many her peers that are not her color or gender rattle off when they get their first job? Like none. She rattled off 4. It's just like me. Like I was like, she's me. Right? When the world asks for 1, you have to do 4. When the world asks for you to build a thing, you have to build it bigger. Like that's kind of the world that we're in. Awesome. So as we just kind of close up, I just wanted to leave you with a very quick story about, like your choices, your future. When I started with Alexa, my boss said no. When I went to go become an executive, my mom was like, but honey, like, do you remember? You can't do that. So the world is always going to tell you no. The good news, though, today, you can build a bunch of stuff without talking to anybody. And it's a lesson I learned early on. It's like watching a pot boil with water. If you keep the lid on it, it'll boil faster. And so some of your ideas are worth keeping close to the vest with your trusted, maybe inner circle, but not telling anyone. Just build it. See what happens. And then when you're ready, take it to the stage. But build it first, like build it. Don't let the stage decide what you build. Don't let the world decide what you build. Because today, more than ever, non-technologists can build solutions. And I'll give you the example is this guy, 25 years old now. When I started mentoring him, he was a late teenager, just finished college. And he was a childhood cancer survivor. And his parents struggled during this cancer survival thing, right? Struggled, hard work, battled it out. They didn't know how to do chemo. They yelled at each other, huge mess, fight. It destroyed their marriage over time. He grew up, he's now older, his parents, happily doing their thing. But he decided to build AI. He's not a technologist, he's a business guy. He's like, I want to build an AI that's going to help parents during childhood chemo. That's it. His company, I won't tell you how much, but it sold for a very healthy penny. And he was just trying to solve a problem that was close to his heart. And he's not a technologist. But guess what? He saw me. And he was like, Noelle, you can help me with this. And I helped him a little. And I connected him with people, right? I'm your friend. I'm like the best friend you could have if you decide to do this. But that's literally how we'll change the world. Is you have a pain, you have a problem, you see a pain, you see a problem. You build the technology that you don't need code for. And then you get funding. That's how it is. So I'm so honored that you guys spent time with me. Thank you for staying a little bit over. I appreciate you. Okay, bye. Oh, I forgot to give away books. All right, I'm going to give them away right now because people ask questions. So here, this is the guy who was going to talk to us. And then here. He's going to come back, though, in March.
So thank you again. Please, another round of applause for Noelle. So just in closing, we just announced today $15 million for Miami-Dade College. So that's huge. Yes. And that funding is going towards artificial intelligence. So that's why we're kicking off today this AI speaker series. It's launching today. It was launched today with Noelle. And every month, we're going to have an AI industry leader, a professional in AI that is going to bring different perspectives and the latest trends on AI. Next month, we're going to have a huge session about how AI is being implemented in higher education, especially colleges, universities. And the following month, we're going to have data literacy on AI, the same book that was just shared now. So hope to see you soon. Every month here, Idea Center, once a month, we're going to have AI speaker series. Thank you so much.
What's going on? What's going on? How are you?
Every time you see him,
Good. You're the social media guy.